Mrs. Pál Hegyi, born Berta Weisz, in Budapest in 1906. Economically, the Jewish laws did not affect me. Because as a seamstress, I worked until the very last day. I supported myself, because in the last period, my husband had to perform labor service continuously. When the Germans came to Hungary, I was forced to wear the yellow star and to live in a yellow star house, where the possibilities of going out were severely restricted. Apart from that, there were many other deprivations, both regarding food and, for example, the prohibition on visiting public places. It was forbidden to enter a building that was not marked with a yellow star. On the tram, one was allowed to ride only in the trailer car, and hundreds of similar things. The Szálasi government crowned all of this by simply locking the gates of all yellow star houses. Then I obtained Swiss protection and moved into a protected house. From there, the Aerocross took me to Telekiter. We spent one night there. The next stations were Tataszal and the brick factory in Óbuda. From the Aerocross men who escorted us, we constantly suffered rudeness and brutality. Meanwhile, a week passed during which we did not receive anything to eat even once, only once a warm soup, which the Red Cross sent after us. On the 2nd of December, we were loaded into railway cars at Józsefváros station. Only women between 16 and 40 years of age. The others were thrown back into the ghetto. Until the Hegyeshalom-Zundorf border, they did not open the car door. There the Germans took us over from the Hungarians. On the way there were several cases of fever, but of course we could not help. On the 10th of December, we arrived in Ravensbrück. That was where our captivity began. I felt like a prisoner. SS men came out, also police personnel, and women as well. They beat and assaulted us. There we learned what it meant to be a prisoner, and that we too were prisoners. With this transport, about 2,000 of us arrived. They drove us into a tent whose floor was bare brick, with no possibility of lying down at all. We spent days there. How many I do not know, because I was completely dazed. Day and night merged into one another. They told us there were no barracks, and until space could be made, we would have to live in the tent. We spread our blankets on the floor. They said we should not pity them, because they will take everything away from us. There was hardly any room to lie down. At best, we sat or stood. After a few days, we were bathed. They took all our belongings away, rucksack, clothes, everything, and after the bath, they gave us utterly impossible, worn-out clothing. I was lucky, because I received a coat. The others had no outer coat at all, and that is how we spent the winter. Our rations were, in the morning black coffee, at midday turnip soup without any taste, which was practically inedible, and 25 decagrams of bread. Every morning they drove a few hundred people out to work that was completely pointless. We had to shovel sand on a slope, which was very hard, especially because it had become winter and we were not clothed for it at all. They treated us terribly, beating and assaulting us constantly. There was not a minute of rest. We could not wash. One had to queue for the toilet, briefly. The conditions were dreadful. After 1 month, on January 10th, 1945, they assembled a transport and I was included in it. They took us to Pénic. There, we were placed in a barrack, and one thing was especially noteworthy. They even gave us a blanket. We worked in the Junkers aircraft factory producing aircraft parts. Working time was 8 hours daily. The food in the factory was very tasty, but very little. The factory was about 3 to 4 kilometers from the camp. We walked the distance on foot. We were constantly hungry. Everyone lost weight terribly, without exception. In the end, we could barely remain on our feet. Under these conditions, we spent 3 months there. On April 13, we set off under escort of SS soldiers and female guards to an unknown destination. In the first days, we marched 20 to 30 kilometers a day on foot. On the third day, we were loaded into wagons and traveled for 3 days in wagons. During that time, we received nothing to eat at all. We had not seen bread for many days, let alone eaten it. Once we were given a few boiled potatoes. We traveled by wagon as far as Dachau. From there we marched on foot again to an alleged camp, which, however, could not be found. We slept in the forest, and once I managed to escape together with two others. We went from village to village and obtained food from houses. People did not like to let us in, but nevertheless we spent the occasional night in stables or attics. Most of the time, however, we were outside in haystacks and slept in a pine forest. Twice we were caught by SS soldiers who were escorting another transport, but we escaped from them as well. After a week, we reached a farmer who hid us. We stayed in his attic until May 4th, when the Americans came to the village of Gottschau and liberated us. We remained in the farmer's house. Then one of my companions went to the hospital, and I returned home with the other companion.